Hi, friends, and welcome to the first follow along series of the second book in the Legendborn series called Bloodmarked. So, if you have already listened to my first episode of the follow along series for Onyx Storm, then you'll know what's happening, but I'll give a little preview here in case you haven't. I have decided that I want to do follow along series for books so that I can record more frequently. Instead of just doing a recording after a book ends, I want to be able to process more regularly and do that as I read books. And so I think what is also really cool about this is if you're reading too, then again, you can kind of follow along. Now, here's where it gets a little bit dicey. I did not do this for Fourth Wing or Iron Flame. I did not do this for Legendborn. And so I'm actually going to just continue on with the books that I'm in right now for both of these series and then figure out what I want to do for the other books. I will likely just go back and do episodes about those as full books because I'm not going to reread them for the sake of this series as much as my anal self would like to do that. We're just going to accept that this series of follow along is in the middle or towards the end of book series that I'm in, because that is just the way that it goes when inspiration strikes. So all of that to say, just know that these formats for the series of Legendborn and the series of Fourth Wing are going to be a little bit all over the place, but I hope to really settle into this follow along for a little while and see how people like it and see if we can get more frequent and like good discussion going by bits of the books instead of just doing one full post about the story at the end. And this feels really revolutionary for me, and that is such a heavy word, but like I just had this moment where I was like, what is stopping you from doing that? And like, if you want to process in real time after you read a certain part of a book, like who says that you can't? You can do whatever you want. So I feel really empowered by that, and I think it's going to be, I hope it becomes something really cool and a neat way for people to get involved in these stories with me. So we're going to talk about Bloodmarked today. And I am already more than halfway through this book. I stopped at chapter 31. I'm actually going to read some more tonight, so I'm doing a nighttime recording. But I wanted to record where I'm at so far. And I actually recorded this already, but it was kind of a hot mess for a lot of different reasons that I'll spare you. So this recording could be pieces of those thoughts with this. We'll see what material I end up using. But that allowed me to be able to process a little bit already of what I wanted to say about this. What I do want to say coming into this now with where I'm at, I'm reminded, especially as I read other books like Fourth Wing, that this is more young adult, that it is a little bit more youthful. And I say that loosely because there's a lot of adult and very heavy stuff that's happening in these books. And it's almost hard to explain, but if you've read both, you'll know a little bit about what I mean. To be frank, part of it could just be the spice level and how it's addressed and talked about. It just isn't as in your face as a lot of other stories are, and that's totally fine and okay. Does that make this less adult than those? In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. That could be a whole conversation in and of itself. But there's something about it that just feels a tiny bit more youthful. And so I have to put myself in this frame of mind of this book and these characters in this setting very separately from other ones. And that sounds kind of like, duh, of course you do. But when you're reading multiple books at a time, it's a little bit of a mind fuck to have to do that. And I know I'm doing this to myself, so I really can't complain if that's what it is that I'm doing. But I just want to state that I think really going into this series, if you've come off of other series or like heavy stuff before, really just go in with like a fresh palette, an open mind. But I'm really loving the writing so far. I'm really loving the story. And why I wanted to kind of comment on that is because of the moments that really make me smile and make me giddy, which are tension-filled moments between Bree, the main character, and Selwyn, who is the mage, and he's the secondary character in these stories. They have this tension, and it is building as these stories go, and it makes me giddy because I'm really, no shame, I'm loving the romanticy hard right now. And why I think it makes me so giddy is because of the delicate nature in which it is addressed, how you lead into it, how innocent Bree can be at times, and then when she's put into these situations with Cell, it's like, oh damn, girl, like tension if I ever did see it. And so before we get there, let's back up for a second. I don't want to summarize this story because if you are doing a read along, you're reading it for yourself, right? But I also recognize that maybe not everybody is, and they still want to listen to this content and kind of come with us for the ride, and they're okay if it's spoiled. So we're going to do a little bit of like a Spark Notes approach. For this book, you start off where Bree's love interest and one of the primary secondary characters of the story, Nick, has been taken. Him and his dad's mage are peace out, Girl Scout, they're gone. And you are in this setting a couple of months after that's happened. So it's already been a couple of months since he's been gone. Bree has not taken the right to fully become King Arthur, and she doesn't have a mage. And so like no one is oathed to her. She hasn't done the right. And they are working up to getting to that place. Throughout the first half of this book, part of what occurs is that all the regents come. They haven't had like somebody in at the seat for Arthur in however long. Plus, they didn't expect it to be somebody from the outside. They didn't expect it to be a girl. They didn't expect it to be an African-American girl at that. She's also a medium. She can do bloodcraft. Like, there's just so much about her, and not everybody necessarily knows that she has these other powers. So of being a medium and blood crafting and all of that stuff. So it's a big deal that this is all going down, and Nick isn't there, but she has to do it. Like, it is just part of the process. You have to do it. You have to become one with Arthur. You have to be his son and really step into your power. And so they go to do that. During that process, she essentially is in this like other world with Arthur at the round table talking to him and whatever, and she doesn't want to do it. And what I want to say one bit about that is that they don't really talk about why. And maybe I need to reread this section or chapter or wherever, but the stuff that Arthur's saying and how he's speaking about it and like what she is giving to be able to do this, she's like, fuck this. And it happens, and then so much other shit happens so fast that you don't ever really, at least in my opinion, it isn't like hit the nail on top of the head is exactly why she doesn't want to do it. And so what I will say about knowing all the things is that she's very much so taking baby steps through this whole process. Because she's a medium, Arthur can like talk to her in different ways than she thinks that the other Scions experience. He can like take over her body and possess her, which is terrifying for her. And so I think that as he's saying certain things, and because he knows she's different and he alludes to her being different because he can sense her medium abilities, but she's also the Scion, she's like, I don't think that you should have this power. I don't think like this is an experience for you that I think you're a little too blood hungry for. But then there are moments where Arthur doesn't seem like a shady dude, although he kind of is. And it's just complicated. It's like he's there because she doesn't have a choice, but he's there to help her. But also he's a skeevy dude. So anyway, she doesn't complete the rite, but also she can't because they end up drugging her midway through the rite because her power is like erupting because she's in this otherworldly experience. And they're like terrified. The regents and the people that are there with her are like, what the? But they also want to like harness it and use it for their own selfish abilities and like study her and whatever. So she's dragged out of this entire process and like taken. And as that is going down, I think it actually was before this point, but she ended up continuing with the rite anyway. Cell ends up getting captured, and they end up saying that he committed treason because he was like trying to attack her early on. All this stuff has come out about his treatment towards her, and now they're using it against him. But the reality is he didn't know that she was the crown of Scion. He didn't know that she was going to be the king. And she even says that and tries to defend him, but he's like, this is just part of the process. This is the oath. I took an oath. I said I wouldn't do XYZ. I had done it even though I didn't know, like it doesn't matter, but it's really shitty because of that fact of him not knowing. And so now you have this world where Nick, who was supposed to be the Scion of King Arthur, isn't around anymore. He's not the Scion of King Arthur at all. And then his mage, who is Sel, who can't really protect him. And so if he's not doing his duty towards his oath, his dark power can take over. And so now Bree's worried about that, but she can't help him because he's not there. And no one will listen to her because even though she's king, it doesn't matter. The regents and like the law or whatever is just what it is. So she is just struggling. And then this whole right thing goes down, doesn't happen. She gets drugged. They take her. And so she's now in this place somewhere far away, and William is with her and they're drugging her. And she starts to realize that this is what's happening. And she's in this Groundhog's Day where they're drugging her and then they're wiping her memory. She ends up getting to a place where she can resist the mesmer of wiping her memory. She like stops eating the food and realizes that it's all drugged and whatever, and does what she can to like resist the mesmer. And in the moment, there's the guy even is like, for a minute, I thought it didn't take. He kind of thought that he saw through it, and she plays it off. And then people come and rescue her that she's never seen or met before in her life, and come to find out Alice is part of it and is helping to get her out. And they get her, they get William, and they get Sel. And so they're on their way, right? The mage that stepped in, her mage, who they were going to like assign her or whatever, oath to her, Lark, who kind of has a little potential thing with William, was there for a little bit and like helps her get away. But then he's like, I'm going to go back, be this double agent and pretend like I don't know what's going on. So like I'm out. So he's not a part of this as much as I thought that he would be, at least for now. And I'm using this as an opportunity to say that I'm interested to see what ends up coming of that and what part he plays. I hope he stays loyal to the cause of wanting things to change and be better so that he's really on her side. But we'll end up seeing what happens. So she's with Alice, William, the people that rescued her, and Sel. And they're in the air, and she basically says, like, we're going to go get Nick. I'm going to get Nick, and that's the end of that. Alice, William, and Sel go with her. All these people that rescued her, they have to go off and do some other shit. They're like, you're going to go to this safe house. So they go to the safe house, and the guy who's there to receive them is also, on the inside to help or whatever. Turns out he double-crossed them, and there's a demon in the house. He goes after Bree. She can't defend herself because she's so fucked from all the drugs and whatever, but she's still able to like work it out. Sel can't use his magic because he has these damn cuffs on that are still limiting him. Basically, they end up being able to kill both the demon. Well, the demon dies, but they don't kill the other guy. He dies because he betrayed the oath, and so the oath kills him. Then they have this moment of basically being like, Bree, you can't do this. You can't go get Nick. You have to save yourself. We can't lose you. We can't afford to lose you. Like, yes, Nick's important, but you're more important. And sorry, we decided this on your behalf. And that's essentially where we are. So I want to read some more tonight, and I'm excited about seeing what happens going forward. But when I was recording this the first time, I had this realization. I'm going to set the stage of the realization because this first part is rather obvious. Nick and Sel are like black and white. Nick is kind. He seems to be like, he takes the oath seriously. He takes his loyalty seriously. He's level-headed. Even if he doesn't know what bullshit's happening, when it does, like, he can see right from wrong. And he really, really likes Bree. And he's just like this gentle person. And you have this dynamic of her, basically having this kind of romance for the first time, but they can't actually be together because now they know they have two lines, right? You come to find out he's actually a knight at the round table through Lancelot. He's Lancelot's scion, and she's Arthur, right? And so they can't ever commingle in a serious way as far as living, marriage, kids, because their lines would mix, and the regents but whatever. They're like, we'll figure it out later. We just care and love each other and want to find each other. Then on the opposite side of that, you have Sel. He's always been dark. He's always been broody. He's always been intense. He's always been fierce. He also takes the oath and all of this stuff super, super seriously, more so even than Nick. Not that he takes it more seriously than Nick, but it comes off much more intense. And even in the first book, you get these little hints where he is intrigued by her. He is interested in her. And what you start to, and what she starts to touch on, is this fact that because Nick is Lancelot's scion and she's Arthur's scion, there's this pull there. And it's just kind of part of this historical pull between the friendship of Arthur and Lancelot and what it was to be knights at the round table and all of this stuff, right? But you also couple that with the fact that they liked each other before that had happened. I do think they're going to explore this fact of like, well, do we like each other because that's who we are? They haven't really gotten into that yet. But either way, there's this connection both in their lines that they didn't know about and between them as people. And then you have Cell, though, who has always just been interested in her because of her. He always wondered like who she was or what she was and could sense something else. And he's become loyal to her and protective of her. But his feelings for her, there's no round table pull there. He's oath to Nick. Nick is who he's supposed to protect. And even though he can like sense if Nick's in danger and like possibly sense some of his feelings and therefore maybe be sensing these feelings of love and affection that Nick has for her and therefore like internalizing some of it, I don't think that that's happening as much as him liking her for her. And so you have both boys who do, but there's a little bit of this layer with Nick where it's like maybe it's not in our control so much. And then Cell. So also, the piece that I realized is that Cell and her have been through some serious stuff. When she was going through the trials before she was King Arthur and like going through the challenges and like trying to be a part of the order and whatever, Nick wasn't there because Nick had already done it and he wasn't allowed to be there. He wasn't a judge, but like he was out of it, right? But Cell was there because his magic was being used and he was part of running all of these challenges or whatever with his magic. And so he saw her more in action than probably anybody. And because of that, when she was in the field some of the time when some of this shit was going down and then real stuff happened where like demons were breaking through in their world, Cell and her were there together battling it out. That's when he started to see her like root craft. And Nick hasn't really experienced a lot of that, like maybe a little bit. I just realized I think Nick has been such a safe haven for her and just this constant from the beginning of this journey. But Cell has seen it all. He's literally experienced it all and like been with her in the thick of it. And so their connection is very raw and very vulnerable, more than in a way than Nick's is. She's vulnerable with Nick because Nick knew what she was trying to do and that she was just trying to like connect some dots and get justice for her mom. But like really, Cell has probably seen more of the raw version of her than Nick has. And so now when you're in this place where you're into the second book, you're halfway through, Nick is still not around, although he can't help it. And now Cell's in this compromising position where he's not really doing much of his duty to his oath because he can't. He's bound by these handcuff thingies to stunt his power. He's really struggling and she doesn't want him to succumb to this darkness and whatever. And yet they're trying to protect her and they're trying to find Nick and Cell's there. And so all of this really just raw and intense stuff is still happening. And I think it is just really contributing to this relationship and this connection that is intense. And so I'm hypothesizing that they're gonna be able to get Nick back, but some shit's gonna happen with Cell, and Nick is gonna realize that her feelings run deep. And Nick is gonna start to see they went through some shit. And I don't know how he's gonna react. Part of me thinks he's gonna be cool as a cucumber, even though he loves her, but because he knows they can't be together anyway, and kind of just say, I'm here to support you, but I'm gonna step out of the way. Part of me thinks that he could go south and get real angry about it and like totally become a dickhead about it. There could be many versions in between that, but I think that Nick is going to start to realize whatever the issue with Cell or the absence at Cell and like the impact it has on her, he's going to start to realize she has feelings for him. And I don't even think she's realized she has feelings for him, right? Like in the first book, there would be these moments where she would talk about how close he would get to her and she could smell him. She could smell his magic and she could feel his presence, obviously when she knows he's really close to her, and how she didn't really feel scared, but how intense it was. The other thing is when the mages look at you, it like prickles your skin. Like she can feel them looking. It's like they're directing their magic at you. I think it's just a mage thing, but it's important because there's this chemistry and this spark with Cell. So when that happens, even though it happens with all mages, there's a little extra something that is coming through in the writing when it's him. It's like if he was looking her up and down in a very physical way, she could feel it just from these prickles. And there's something really intense about that as a reader, having that described to you. So you get these moments throughout where you can just tell there's this tension. But in this book, it's even more amplified, right? Because they're in this really intense and vulnerable and stressful situations. And Cell is really, really vulnerable himself, and they have this moment with the two of them in this safe house where she's beat to shit and he's checking on her and she's checking on him, and they're in this bathroom together. And when I tell you, I don't even know why I can picture this house. I don't even think it was described very well, but I just picture wood paneling of a hallway. I picture him walking through the door. I picture the bathroom in the back of the room, and like the bedroom door is shut and they're in that bathroom and it's open to the room and they're standing in this tiny bathroom together having this moment, and they're close and she can feel the heat radiating off of his skin. You forget almost that it is a young adult book. You forget that you have been struggling with Bree because she isn't fully owning her power. You forget that she's young. Like, you're in this moment where you're like, damn, these are two people that feel each other literally without even touching each other. It's just this chemistry and it's this electric current, and he can be vulnerable and he lets her see this vulnerability almost as if nobody else can see it, very much like the Xaden and Violet dynamic. But yet he doesn't say what he's feeling. He doesn't say that he likes her. He doesn't say, like, he doesn't allude to it, but his body, like, and his actions are implying, and this flirtation and this tension, and she is human, and so she reacts to it, and he can feel and like sense her heartbeat speeding up, and like he'll comment on it, and she can't do anything about it. She is just like pulse pounding, holy shit, this is a man in front of me. And it's palpable. It is so palpable. And so I think what I love about it is that it is this YA text, but this tension is palpable. And so because of that, it makes me team Brianna and Cell. It makes me want to see if their end game and in what way that all comes to life, and how that can happen with this whole Nick element. A lot has gone down. And again, I know story-wise I'm giving the Spark Notes version, but we're at a very pivotal point where they're still very much on the run, and like she has to figure out what she's going to do. And I'm loving it because this is not a romantasy, right? Like that is not what this is. And again, I'm loving that genre. So of course I'm leaning into this and I'm like, yes, 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 like go team, go. But it makes it almost that much better that you can cut the tension with a knife, and yet you know that these are like kids on the run that don't know what the hell's going on and what they're doing with their lives and just trying to figure it out. It's intense in all of the best ways. So I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm really liking it. So again, hang with me as we do these read-along series, but I will find my groove and we'll do it in a more digestible way so that people don't have to read as much to be caught up to where I'm recording. Excited to see what happens. I appreciate everybody listening and following along, and I'm excited to see what everybody thinks about where we are so far. So definitely please comment on YouTube and give me thoughts and feelings, and we'll see you at the next episode of this series. Bye, friends.